Hi guys, welcome to this Facebook Live. Great to have you tune in. Now, it's been a very busy session for the market. Lots of earnings coming in. You can see the noise behind me. There's a fair amount of excitement, enthusiasm. Wipro's earnings have just broken on the screen and it seems like their numbers don't look that bad. On the margin front particularly, they've done about 17.5% versus our estimates of about roughly 16 odd percent. Even on the top line and the bottom line, I think the numbers are in line with the estimates. I'm waiting for what they've done because Wipro typically gives their global IT revenue guidance for the next quarter. So let's see what they state on that front. But if Wipro also shows some sort of traction in their business, then I think that will just give a facelift to the entire IT sector, because TCS has done well, Mindtree's come out with a great set of numbers, Infosys has come out with a set of numbers that have not disappointed the street, and now it seems like even Wipro, which has been a ranked underperformer within the space, has not done much in terms of earnings performance quarter on quarter. It really lags the sector, so to speak, but it seems like this quarter around, the top line and the bottom line has been in line with estimates, and I think the margin surprise is something that will catch people's attention, because that means that deals are coming at higher profitability levels. Okay, would love to get in your questions. It's going to be a busy week. We are going to be looking at a whole host of earnings coming in. PSU Bank numbers are going to hit the screen. You're going to look at a lot of the NBFCs today. Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv are the story of the day. I know some of you even asked me questions about Bajaj Finance. We look at that stock, 8% up. When we started off trade today, I scanned through a lot of brokerage calls on Bajaj Finance, and each one of them, 5 calls, JP Morgan, Edelweiss, some of the noted brokerages, continue to maintain a buy even at these levels despite valuations. It just shows that, money is riding on quality names. Even with Kotak Bank, a slew of buy calls and maybe 1 or 2 hold calls. I just want to quickly start taking in questions. A lot of you send in stock specific queries. It'd be great if you could ask me for more perspective on a broader basis than micro views. I know it's always very attractive to hear about a particular stock, and I'm happy to share news developments on any stock story, but it's very difficult to give you a call. Praveen is asking about view on ICICI Securities. I know, because there's been some pain in the stock of late. I think that could be to do with the mid-cap sell-off in general, and I don't know whether it's specifically to do with the brokerage business, but given any entity which is in the broking space, you would see them having a tough quarter, primarily because volumes, trading volumes have gone down. There's more selling pressure coming into mid caps and small caps. The dichotomy continues between mid caps underperforming large caps, there being selective buying interest in high quality names, it being a polarized market. So I think that can weigh on broking companies from a business perspective. I can't talk specifically about ICICI Securities, however. Shyam is asking about views in Kerala Healthcare. Nitin is asking views on Mindtree. Mindtree, I just highlighted. I think it's not just Mindtree, it's a broad wave with IT, and just watch out for the brokerage calls coming in on Wipro on Monday morning. I think that will be very interesting, because I think their margin performance is something that will impress the street. And margins are important, right? It's not just about deal wins, but at what pricing those deals are coming in at, and what kind of profits are firms being able to make on every incremental deal. That is very important to watch out for. By the way, I also want to tell all of you, since you're tuning in right now, there's a big programming note. You can't not watch ET Now on Monday. You have to tune into ET Now on Monday morning at 8 a.m. because through the day we will be showcasing our exclusive interview. Nikunj Dalmia, my colleague who you all know of very well, he's interviewed Rakesh Jhunjhunwala over 20-25 minutes, which we will be playing out all day long on Monday. There will be some slices of that conversation that we will play out on Tuesday and Wednesday as well, and you have to tune into the channel to catch that interview. This is Mr. Jhunjhunwala's most candid interview. He's been very frank about his approach towards the markets, and he's been very frank about his approach towards life as well. So this is his candid best, and so do tune in. He's spoken at length about this mid-cap mayhem and he's given his perspective on how he sees this differential trade panning out in the near term and the long term. The interview is going to play out at 9:20 on Monday morning, so be sure that you're watching 18i at that time to catch that interview live. Okay, let me just also touch upon very quickly some of the other aspects that you guys are speaking about. Chintan is asking about the infrastructure sector. There's been a lot of pain, with Dilip Bilkon, Ashoka Bilkon, a lot of these infrastructure stroke construction companies, stroke engineering companies. I don't know whether it's really about order backlog. I think it's about order execution, I think, where the worry lies. We'll have to see. In the mid-cap mayhem, these companies are definitely seeing a lot of selling pressure. They're being sold into significantly, quite aggressively, and have come off almost 20, 30, 40, even 50% in some cases. So, yeah, I mean, typically when you are in risk-off mode, the investment-led themes, the cyclical themes, tend to fall more than defensives. That's consumer, IT, etc., pharma for that matter. The beta is higher for these stocks, so I think there would be pain. Anil, I just answered on the IT sector, but just because it's the story of the day with Wipro's earnings, I think the wave is turning for the IT space in the wake of a weaker currency. Remember, the currency is now at 69 and beyond. If we trend towards 70, which is very likely, then we would see a big plus coming in for the IT sector and the pharma sector. And I think part of the tailwind is that, but the other aspect is the US economy recovering, and it really seems like their BFSI vertical for all of the businesses is picking up in Europe as well as the US. I think that weak link is starting to contribute. We've heard that in the TCS management commentary, we've heard that with Infosys. So things may be looking up. Now the question is only this growth that's coming in BFSI, which is the banking and financial services segment. Is it coming in on good profitability? Is it coming in on good pricing? And if that's the case, then you would see a thumbs up for IT companies across the board. Yash, Bajaj Finance, what do you think? What do you think, Yash? I mean, look at where the stock is. Just bring up the 10-year chart of Bajaj Finance and you'll know how the story has been completely re-rated. I'll tell you a little, and I'll share with you a little anecdote. I interviewed Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj about 10 years back when the demerger of the Bajaj Group had happened, and he had been given the responsibility of the financial services business. Kudos to him. It's really about leadership. It really comes from the top. His vision and his management style has really worked in turning around the business. It started off with Bajaj Finserv and their insurance business first. Now look at the way Bajaj Finance is calling the shots. Both Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv are among the top gainers. And like I said, most of the brokerages, even at these levels, are citing a buy call on Bajaj Finance. It doesn't seem like the upside they feel is over and done yet. So if you watched the channel between 8 to 10 this morning, if you watched the show The Market, we talked about it at length, and that got reflected in the way the stock performed as well in the session, and took along with it the momentum in Bajaj Finserv. We spoke with the management of Bajaj Finserv, where again for the general insurance business as well as the life insurance business, the premium growth has been very strong, and Mr. Srinivasan believes that it can be sustained going forward. Okay. Himanshu is asking, what is the likely impact of exchange rates and what is the outlook on crude prices? See, a weaker currency is great for exports. A weaker currency is bad for imports. At that time, a few weeks back, we had crude prices also rallying, and there was the threat of crude going past $80 to a barrel. So weakness in the currency plus rising crude oil prices is a double whammy for our import bill. It's great for our export potential, mind you, because many times, we've lost out in the past because other countries have had weaker currencies, and so our export competitiveness has been compromised. In fact, Maithili Busnor, my consulting editor and a colleague I respect very dearly, she believes that 70 would be fair value, and she has been a big proponent of how the currency should not be stronger but weaker, so that we stay very much relevant in the export markets, given that global trade and global growth is coming back. However, the rupee has also been reflecting the domestic macro fundamentals, which have been very strong. So, a currency's strength is derived from an economy's deficit situation, as well as its growth and inflation fundamentals. Basically, the internals in the macros. And those have looked strong for the Indian economy compared to the rest of the emerging market world. I mean, you will Google up on Turkey, you will Google up on Brazil, Russia, you will see what the currencies are doing there and why those currencies are weaker, because they reflect the underlying health of the economy. So I think part of the reason the rupee was resilient was because our internal macros look strong. Yes, now it's weakening, but that's got to do partly with how in international markets the dollar is gaining strength. It's a global dollar strength trade which is playing up against emerging market currencies, and I think that's impacting us. On crude oil prices, today Chris Wood of CLSA, noted financial market speaker, has stated that he expects a price of $120 to $150 to a barrel on crude, and he's warned countries like India and Indonesia, which are oil dependent, or dependent on rather oil imports, that they need to be wary of that sudden spike coming in on crude. He doesn't see competition coming in from shale gas that can hold the kind of demand surge that we might see in oil prices soon enough, where supply will not be able to catch up, and then suddenly prices will zoom past record levels, or at least the recent highs. So that's going to be a bit concerning if that turns out to be true. But with oil, it's such a volatile market, it's such an emotional market, you can't really call a level very precisely. But I would give credit to Mr. Wood and the fact that he has so much experience in the markets. If he's saying there's trouble brewing in the oil market, we'll have to wait and watch out for that space very, very closely. Okay, I have time for one more question and then I'll have to wrap up. PSU banks, you have to watch out for the earnings. Let's see what they say this time around. It's going to be an important quarter for them because it's coming on the back of the fact that the government is looking to recapitalize some of the ailing PSU banks again. So this is another wave of recapitalization and meeting their funding requirements and their capital requirements. So we'll have to watch out. It's a very important quarter for PSU banks, especially also for SBI, on what they say about the future outlook. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, all of you, and do tune in. Monday morning, we have our mega ET Now exclusive coming your way. A very candid conversation with none other than the big bull himself, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, at 9:20 a.m. and then through the trading day. So don't miss that special programming of ours. Thanks very much for tuning in today.